Today we'll be presenting our case study analysis for ACW1020. This analysis focuses on River Green Industries and Diran Berhad, where we examine key financial and ethical decisions using tools like break-even and CVP analysis, a 3-year cash budget, and a critical reflection on ethical practices. I'm Jasmine and my team members are Yuto, Weichen, Fatima, and Ayan. Based on fixed cost and contribution of River Green's 2024 cost structure, the break-even point was calculated to be 1.5 million units. This means that in 2024, the company needs to sell 1.5 million units to cover all costs and start making a profit. However, after implementing compliance measures, the company's fixed cost increased to 7.4 million ringgit. As a result, the break-even point rose to 1.85 million units, which is 350,000 units more than the original structure. This adds additional pressure on the company's sales performance. Currently, River Green's sales volume is 1.6 million units. While this was sufficient under 2024's cost structure, it is no longer enough to sustain operations after the compliance measures was implemented. The revised break-even point of 1.85 million units now exceeds the company's actual sales volume of 1.6 million. This indicates that River Green will be operating with a loss. There are two potential cost recovery strategies to address the issue. That is to increase the selling price by 50 cents per unit or increase the sales volume by 10% without changing the price. In 2024, selling 1.6 million units generated a profit of 400,000 ringgit. In scenario A, we increased the price to 1250 ringgit but kept the volume at 1.6 million. The high contribution per unit wasn't enough to cover the fixed costs, resulting in a loss of 200,000 ringgit, and it may risk loss of cost. For scenario B, we increased 10% of the sales volume, that is 1.76 million units. The contribution margin stayed the same. The company still faces a loss of 360,000 ringgit. This risks overproduction. This shows that neither plan is immediately profitable without further adjustments.
Now, I'll present our cash flow analysis for River Green Industries between 2025 and 2027. Looking at the projection on the slide, we can see that the company is expected to face 2 years of cash shortages before returning to a surplus. In 2025, the company earned 16.32 million ringgit in cash inflows, but spent 16.52 million ringgit. This leads to a net shortage of 200,000 ringgit. In 2026, the situation worsens slightly. Cash inflows fall to 15.99 million ringgit, while outflow rises to 16.85 million ringgit, widening the shortage of 856,800 ringgit. Only in 2027 does the company show signs of recovery, with inflows growing to 17.27 million and a small surplus of 253,184 ringgit. Now on the next slide, let's break down why this is happening. In 2025, the spike in operating costs is mainly caused by the company's compliance rollout. These include installing wastewater treatment systems and increasing workers' wages to meet legal requirements. Overall, expenses jumped by 18% that year. In 2026, operating costs begin to stabilize, but sales dropped by 2%, likely due to a loss of customer confidence caused by the company's past environmental and labor violations. By 2027, recovery starts to take shape. Thanks to full implementation of reforms, customers begin to rebuild the trust, and cash inflows grow by 8%, bringing the first surplus in 3 years. Finally, let's look at what the company's future sustainability really depends on. First, sales recovery. Although 2027 looks promising, it depends heavily on public trust. Without reputation repair, those sales won't materialize. Second, reputation management. The backlash from pollution and underpaid workers may still affect 2026 procurement deals, which could slow the recovery even further. And third, efficiency. The company needs to cut other costs or improve productivity to balance the added burden of compliance spending. So, to summarize, while Rivergreen is on the right track ethically, the next few years will be financially tight. Managing cash flow will be critical until the benefits of these reforms begin to pay off.
To address Rio Green's projected 1.06 million ringgit cash shortfall between 2025 and 2026, we are still complying with environmental and labor reforms. We recommend three key strategies. First, we recommend short-term financing. This loan would cover the temporary cash gap caused by one-time compliance investments. Since River Green is projected to return to surplus by 2027, the company can repay this debt over the medium term. Yes, this introduces some interest expense, but it's a safer alternative than delaying compliance, which could lead to penalties or even reputational damage. Second, we suggest a phased implementation of compliance upgrades. The company should prioritize essential items like the wastewater system in 2025 and delay less urgent expenses, such as full-scale safety equipment, to 2026. This approach reduces capital pressure in the short term, while showing regulators and stakeholders that reform is still ongoing. However, the timing must align with legal deadlines to avoid non-compliance risks. Third, we explore cost recovery through pricing or volume strategies based on CVP analysis by increasing the unit price by 0.50 ringgit. River Green was able to reduce the projected loss by 80% from 1 million ringgit to just 200,000 ringgit. Alternatively, increasing sales volume by 10% would spread compliance costs more efficiently. Of course, pricing sensitivity is a concern, so any increase should be paired with clear messaging around the company's sustainability efforts. In summary, these strategies balance financial prudence and regulatory responsibility by combining temporary financing, smart timing, and targeted recovery. River Green can navigate its short-term cash constraints while stay on track for long-term sustainability.
River Green has committed two major ethical violations. The first is environmental negligence. Over the past few years, the discharge of untreated industrial waste into the Parit Mahang River has caused visible and lasting harm. Foul odors, discolored water, dead aquatic life, and health risks to surrounding communities. While the company maintained that it was following internal waste protocols, the reality on the ground told a different story. The second ethical issue is labor exploitation. Our workers, most of whom come from the very communities affected by the pollution, have endured excessive working hours, wages below Malaysia's legal minimum, and unsafe conditions when handling hazardous materials. Let's now talk about the consequences of these ethical failures, because they are not just theoretical, they are already affecting us in real, measurable ways. First, there's public backlash. The local communities around Parit Mahang have lost their trust in us. Once a company is seen as harmful to its surroundings, rebuilding credibility is incredibly difficult. Our name is now associated not only with solvents but with pollution and injustice. Second, we're facing legal risks. The environmental damage and labor violations have put us in a vulnerable legal position. If regulatory agencies decide to act, we could face fines, lawsuits, or even operational shutdowns. Third, we risk losing business. In today's market, clients are prioritizing ethical sourcing and ESG compliance. If we can't demonstrate that we are responsible, sustainable, and law abiding, we will lose contracts. Existing clients may already be reconsidering their partnership with us. Finally, there's the internal clause, employee morale and turnover. Even those workers who stay may no longer feel motivated. When workers feel unsafe and undervalued or exploited, they leave. These four consequences are not separate issues, they're interconnected, and if we fail to address them, they will reinforce each other and accelerate the company's decline.
Today, I'll go over the ethical risks Rivergreen industry faces if it prioritizes short-term profits over long-term sustainability. Rivergreen is a solvent manufacturing based in Selangor. Despite constant revenue, the company is under public and administrative pressure to environmental pollution and labor violation. Firstly, the company has been linked to pollution of the Marit Min Hang River. If it delays installing wastewater treatment to cut costs, it risks ongoing ecological damage, health problems for local communities, and potential legal action from environmental authorities. Second, workers are reportedly underpaid and overworked with poor safety standards. Ignoring wage reforms and safety protocols could violate Malaysia's labor law and lead to lawsuits, strikes, and reputable damage. Third, prioritizing profits may also tempt the company to engage in greenwashing, misleading stakeholders about its environmental efforts. If exposed, this could destroy trust and lead to financial penalties. In short, these ethical risks, environmental harm, labor exploitation, and reputational damage could have serious legal and financial consequences. Sustainability and compliance should not be viewed as costs, but as long-term investments in Rivergreen's sustainability, stability, and public trust.
To financially recover, Rivergreen must adopt a compliance-first, cost-efficient model. Instead of viewing labor and environmental reforms as costs to minimize, Rivergreen should treat them as investments and protect the company from long-term financial and legal risks, focusing on reducing non-essential spending while safeguarding compliance and safety investments. That should be our second step. And third, publicly disclosing financial recovery efforts alongside social and environmental reforms, engaging with clients, regulators, and employees and local communities to co-develop solutions that are financially and ethically sound. This builds trust, enhances brand loyalty, and may even attract impact-focused investors or new ethical customers.